everybody, to our first video cast. I am Paycheck. I'm here with Fudge on the other end. We are going to talk to you about movies. I see a ton of movies. Fudge has probably seen more movies than I have. He can quote them off the top of his head even faster. So what we wanted to do was put a show together for you guys that dives into the stuff that you don't normally talk about when it comes to movies. So, Zach, why should anyone listen to you about movies?
Good question, Paycheck. Mainly because I know everything there is to know about film. I've seen over 209 of them. So I do have quite the extensive knowledge.
I feel like you have to have seen over 1,000 movies at this point in your life.
Oh, easily. I worked at a movie theater right out of college for like a year and a half. It was free movies every day. So
that's where Fudge's actual expertise lies. He literally worked in the industry, we could say. That's what you did for a living. So let's dive in. Let's talk about David Spade.
Love him.
David Spade is going to be our first episode.
So close, yet such a nerd. Oh, hold your calls, America. We have a winner.
Some people might be thinking, why David Spade? He's not the biggest actor in the world. He's not the most famous.
About
he's
5'6", 5'8". He's average height.
Yeah, I
Great
figured
career.
You would know that.
Yeah.
But he's been in a lot of things that I think people see, and I think he has an influence on a lot of things. He also, to me, was someone that disappeared for a while. So when he first got big, it was him and Chris Farley in things like Tommy Boy and things like Black Sheep, and
Coneheads.
And then he just kind of fell off, or so I thought, until I went and looked at his IMDb, and he actually was working the whole time. He was starring in movies from pretty much 1987 was his first showing on Police Academy 4. Probably not one of the highest rated movies of all time, but from 1987, 92, 93, 95, 96, 97, all of these movies that came out in that time period, and that's after, Black Sheep and Tommy Boy in 1995, 1996, and even through the 2000s. You might not have seen him a bunch. He was in a bunch of TV shows. He was in a lot of animated series that people don't realize. And then he's been in some big blockbusters, maybe not the highest rated movies, but some big movies like The Ridiculous Six that was a lot of very opinionated, depending on who you talk to. The Do-Over, a few different Netflix ones. The Wrong Missy came out this year, which I know we both enjoyed. Zach, you actually told me to.
I was telling everybody for like a week and a half. Like I said, I looked on Netflix. It's like, what's coming next week? And I saw the Wrong Missy trailer. Told everyone to watch it. Like 2 weeks go by, and then I see everyone on Snapchat. I love this movie, and I was just like, you guys just don't listen to me. Like I'm telling you, I know this stuff. Like it's going to be a good movie.
So we'll talk a little bit more about that in some of these segments. But tell me your opinion on David Spade, Zach. When you hear David Spade, what did you used to think, or what do you think now?
So my first introduction to David Spade was when he was on Saturday Night Live doing the sketches with Farley. All of the sketches that he was doing, I'd stay up late with my grandpa, watch those when he'd be babysitting me, and then it grew into when I was a little bit older, still able to watch him. I would say Tommy Boy is the first movie I remember seeing him in. Given my age, I went back. I watched obviously the Police Academy movies, but Tommy Boy and Black Sheep are the first two that caught my eye. They tried to make Black Sheep kind of a sequel to Tommy Boy, and it didn't get as good of reviews as people wanted. But I think if you go back and watch that today, it's just as funny as the first time I seen it. The big thing is he's just underrated. A lot of people kind of tagged him in, and rightfully so, with like Chris Farley, when Chris left us, that was kind of, that's kind of why he probably took some time off, get his head right. I'm sure he was in a certain state. And you can read about it a little bit in his memoirs, Almost Interesting, which is a great read if you're into reading up on any of the actors. But the sitcoms took up a lot of his time too. I mean, Just Shoot Me was on for a number of seasons. I got the box set of that.
His
yeah.
biggest,
and then
TV show at that time.
And then even recently into the early 2000s, when he was doing Rules of Engagement, was hilarious. I think 7 seasons of that, and I think it ended too soon. I want that to be a reunion. Everyone's doing reunion shows. So, David, when I tweet this at you, let's make it happen.
I kind of saw it the same way. So you have a lot of really awesome, hilarious, like buddy comedies out now. And I feel like, at least for my movie experience, Tommy Boy was like the first buddy comedy that I remember watching. And that duo is probably one of the funniest duos of all time, because Chris Farley's so ridiculous. David Spade is so like level-headed and plays such a cool character. And so watching that and then seeing that just go away was tough. But then I got reintroduced to David Spade in Joe Dirt, which I think we'll get into it. I think one of his best movies. I almost compare it to Forrest Gump, where it's almost this epic of so many different stories within one. Like, obviously it's not Forrest Gump, so nobody out there start hating on me because I compared Joe Dirt to Forrest Gump. But you have this long story, semi-narrated, that was just, it was just really good. The acting in it was great. The storylines were ridiculous, but it was really good. And then he kind of fell off again, I feel like. So I never saw like Dickie Roberts. But there was, that gap where he's probably doing more TV than movies. And then he emerged on Netflix again, in The Do-Over and The Wrong Missy and a couple of Ridiculous Six with some cameos.
Father of the Year. Father of the Year was a great one. I don't care what anyone says. You're not changing my mind. I'll watch that movie too. Like, that's what I like about David Spade is his movies are hilarious, and it's a movie that you can put on at any point, any day of the week. And it's a movie where if Comedy Central is running a David Spade marathon and I'm coming in at 4:30 and he's halfway through, halfway through Joe Dirt, we'll say, I'm going to sit down and watch the rest of it. Like, you can start the movies at any point and still have a good, enjoyable time.
And I just want to make this clear, because in a lot of the video casts that we're going to do, you're going to hear me talk about like good movies, something that's a good movie or an entertaining movie. To me, you can be a bad movie and still be entertaining. Every actor has them. Just because we think a movie's entertaining or it's fun to watch doesn't mean that we're going to give it, an Oscar. They're not, it doesn't mean that, but you can still have a bad movie that's enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
And I think that does fall into some of the stuff that David Spade has done. And then you get movies. So I haven't seen it yet, but I think it was The Warning Shot, or there's one of his more, or his
Warning
newer
Shot.
movies that's
Warning Shot's a little bit more,
on Rotten Tomatoes right now. So there's gems out there that he has. So now let's dive into some of the segments. We're going to start with a segment called Hypothetically Speaking. Any movie, it can be anything in his universe, just like all of these segments are going to be. It's all going to have to do with David Spade at some point, but it might be a movie where he's a cameo in it. It might be a movie where he's the main character. So I'm going to give you a movie, and I'm going to change a part of that movie. And I want you to tell me how you think that movie goes if that thing happens. Okay. So the first one I'm going to start with is Joe Dirt. Okay. I already said it, Joe Dirt is one of my favorite movies. One of the hilarious parts of Joe Dirt is when he is carrying around what he believes to be a bomb, a nuclear warhead, that he takes in to get like appraised or checked out to see what it actually is, and it ends up being an old septic tank. And from there, it's just, kind of just another segment that he moves on from. What happens in that movie if that septic tank is actually a nuclear warhead?
Whoa, putting me on the spot here with this one. I think you go a couple different ways. So he's taking it in, and he takes it to, he's trying to get money, right? That's the whole thing. He needs to get money to get his car out. So he finds out that it's actually a nuclear warhead that he's discovered out there in the desert. He straps it to himself, and the movie takes a complete 180 from that nice, wholesome feel that you're going to get. And when he's out there and he's demanding money, or he's going to bang it with this hammer, everyone is now in a hostage situation, and they have to call in local authorities.
It turned into Speed real quick.
It just takes a quick 180, and that's how his parents end up finding him. like, because they see him on there, and they're still going to be the money hungry people that they are, and they're going to want their time, right? Because they got to sell it. But at this point, they can sell their clowns. We got to frown now because our son is a psychopath.
That's a story. So this turns into David Spade's or Joe Dirt's parents actually winning in this scenario, because there's no way they don't get publicity for being the person, the parents of the person that ends up trying to wipe out entire towns.
Yeah, exactly. And then they're selling, and I mean they're living their life, and they're them being evil people. It turns out that's the moral of the story: be an awful person, and good things come to you.
That's good foreshadowing for one of the segments we're gonna do. So, does this bomb blow up?
It does not. No. They defuse it. They'll end up diffusing the situation because he needs to stand trial, and that's when the parents will gain the press. Because who is Joe Dirt? It becomes who is Joe Dirt at this point, and everyone's figuring out his real name's not even Dirt, it's Nunamaker. Oh, who are the Nunamakers? Oh, they live in a trailer selling clowns. Let's bring them on to Maury's show or something.
Like when you say it like that, Joe Dirt turned into a very dark movie.
Yeah, you recast it without that blue background. You put a little, like, an all black background with a little bit of gray, red letters, and it gets really dark.
Let's go with another one. A little bit. We'll see. This is actually not. I don't know if it's gonna be more lighthearted or not. But Tommy Boy. We're gonna pivot to Tommy Boy.
Okay.
What happens? So one of the big things in Tommy Boy is that he is Chris Farley's not good at sales. He's messing everything up, right? So what happens in that diner scene where David Spade finally sees Chris Farley sell to the waitress that's there? What happens if David Spade never sees that?
If he never questions it, like, hey, what was that right there? And they don't get into that whole monologue about, I got some fried pizzas in the car. I'd say, they literally go back, and the town, like, it's again, like, all of these movies, like, something happens, and we're talking about climactic.
I do not know this man.
Scenes right now, where if it goes the other way, this story goes the other way. It's not a lighthearted, happy ending. Like, they go on to their sales trips, they keep failing. I'd assume at some point they'd get tired of each other. They're not winning. They're not making the deals. Spade gets on a bus, and he goes back to Ohio, and Tommy Boy is left to just wonder what to do with his life.
And so in that scenario, they never have to, the protagonists in that movie, I forget their names in the actual movie, but they would never have to actually fudge all those numbers or mess up all of those shipping orders, right? I think because they do that after they're super successful with all their sales.
Yeah.
So then they don't ever go to jail. So they never get caught. So now they take over Callahan Auto.
They take it over, and they sell it to Zelensky. And based off of how that started to end at the end, I guess Rob Lowe character is still going to be out, and she's going to leave him for Zelensky because
he makes car parts rich at that point.
That Rob Lowe would be, but no, their whole thing is to sell. Their whole thing, that entire movie, is just to get the money.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So Rob Lowe ends up with all of that money, even though he's going to be separated from his actual wife, but nobody ever finds that out. So even if she leaves him for Zelensky,
that doesn't play into any of the big things, but I'm just guessing that when they go to make that sale, Zelensky's going to put the moves.
So of all that, you're telling me that one small little diner scene is going to ruin the entire movie. It literally changes the whole movie by one tiny little diner scene.
One tiny little diner scene made the whole movie, didn't it? Before he could sell, before he got hit with the 2x4, walked into I think there was a brontosaurus outside front. Yeah. Sees the dinosaur, walks in to get some food. If he can't get the chicken wings, I mean, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
The whole movie's different.
Or if she just gives him the chicken wings.
Yeah, that same thing. Yeah, like if she's just like, all right, whatever, I'll give it to you, then he's not making the sale.
Okay, so let's move on to, I think, one of the what's going to be one of the most hotly contested segments, but also probably one of the funnest to talk about. Everyone has opinions on movies that they've seen. I'm going to make you, Fudge, pick your What do you want to do? You want to do the worst tournament, or you want to do the best? Figure out David Spade's best movie, bracket style, or his worst movie.
I think I'll go worst movie because I think
Okay, good. That's what I was prepared for. So
yeah, I think that'd be a little bit. I can be a little bit more critical than you.
yeah.
Although I don't think he has a worst movie. I love all of his movies because he's going to be watching this.
So this will be an interesting segment because I'm not going to give you a bracket of ones that you gave me. Like, I don't know if you think these are bad movies or not. I'm going to give you what I think are his bad movies. So you might have some tough choices, and you might think some of these are actually good. So here's what the bracket's going to look like. You're going to have 4 initial matchups, then the semis, and then the finals. Okay. So your first matchup of a worst movie. Which movie is the worst? And tell us kind of your thought process. Father of the Year, which you've already said that you liked.
I like that one a lot.
Versus one of his earliest movies, A Very Brady Sequel.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Definitely. I'm A Very Brady Sequel.
With or without Spade.
Yes. Yeah. I've seen that. It was awful. I didn't like the Brady Bunch movie or A Very Brady Sequel. I watched the show growing up because it was normally on like Nick at Night or whatever, or whatever channel it was. And I didn't mind the show. It's a wholesome show. The movie, I could not care less for that movie. Yeah. I think we have a front runner. I'm
the same way, but I might not let you pick it in the next round. But just if anyone's wondering, David Spade played Sergio, the hairstylist. He was actually uncredited in the movie, but it is on his IMDb page. So he was in it. It was an extra, not a lead. Okay, so A Very Brady Sequel moves on to the semifinals.
Yeah.
It's going to face the loser of this next one. And this one I think is going to be tough for you. I think you probably enjoyed both of these movies. But based on kind of their Rotten Tomatoes scores and some of the issues around it and how it was perceived, we're going to go with The Ridiculous Six versus The Benchwarmers.
So I'll preface this by saying when I'm picking worst movies, I'm picking which movie I would rather not see again over the other ones. Mm-hmm. I know Ridiculous Six probably has that was only maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and it probably doesn't hold up too well.
2015, I think.
Yeah, it probably doesn't even hold up too well in today's culture, and rightfully so. Adam Sandler playing the native is going to push some buttons.
There's a lot.
Yeah, we don't need to get into that.
Pretty much all of them that did, but it didn't age well. No. It didn't. I don't even think it was like well perceived at the time either, which is why I think it was funny. It had its moments, but I put it on this list because of like those types of reasons.
Yeah, but I would honestly say I think Benchwarmers is a worse movie than Ridiculous Six. I mean, if you're looking at the movies, what we typically look at, we look at how funny they are compared to other movies. If we're laughing the whole time, quotes that we can sit there and quote through the movie back and forth. I just feel, and storyline sounds awful when you're talking about Ridiculous Six too, but I don't know, Benchwarmers, I just didn't. I like David Spade in the movie. He actually has a lot of funny quotes, but I just didn't. I don't know, something about Schneider in the lead role. At least he wasn't changing into like an animal or a woman this time. Napoleon Dynamite.
Maybe we'll do a Rob Schneider episode at some point, but maybe we disagree on some of those.
I just think I think the cast he had was to help him was not. I don't think it was as strong of a cast, so I'd give it you look Ridiculous Six, you got literally everybody. You got Terry Crews, you got Taylor Lautner, who in this film at least, likes people and isn't doing backflips and telling people to get out of their town because he owns it. I'm saying Benchwarmers moves on. I
don't disagree with you. I think The Ridiculous Six has a lot of issues with it, but I'm a big Adam Sandler fan. I know a lot of people are very hit or miss. A lot of people think that he was great in the 90s and early 2000s and went downhill from there, but I think he still puts out some pretty funny stuff. But yeah, the Benchwarmers, the whole plot was kind of lame.
just
okay. So Benchwarmers moves on. Next one. So I think this one might be an easy one for you. Jack and Jill versus The Do-Over. So The Do-Over, just the reason I put it on here, I actually enjoyed it, but The Do-Over, I'm pretty sure has a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, along with Ridiculous Six.
Yeah, that's one thing is I don't care about any of those scores. Like anytime I see a movie has like a 30% or less, I'm like, I'm probably going to enjoy this movie. It's going to be funny, and people just get mad about silly things. But Jack and Jill was so hard to watch. I've only seen it twice. Like that's one of his movies I'm not going to be able to quote. Oh my God. Yeah. The Jack and Jill moves on easy. Mm-hmm. I like The Do-Over. So I think that was.
I figured that would be an easy one.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
So 3 of the first round matchups are done. Now the final one, which I also think might be an easy one, but another one that some pretty big controversy, especially now around it. But I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry and Dickie Roberts, Child Star.
I remember everyone saying Dickie Roberts was not good, and people like gave it like very bad reviews out of the gate. And I don't think I think they were expecting something different from David Spade in that movie. And I'm not sure what. And a lot of the people in that same circle, in the grown-up circle, like the Adam Sandlers and stuff, they get the same kind of flack, and I don't understand what people are expecting out of them. But
so it's like, I mean, they're typecasted to an extent, but
yeah,
what do you want when you have someone that's successful in a role and they make funny movies and people enjoy it? Why do you want them to make other stuff? Which they do, by the way. I mean, Adam Sandler's a great example of it. Somebody who can play a hilarious comedic role, but then also turn around and play a super serious one, or play one where it is a little bit more some humor in it and some serious. And David Spade's no different, not as wide of a range, I think, but obviously has some great movies that aren't as slapstick as some of his more funny stuff.
I think I'm putting Chuck and Larry through. I think even regardless of like the controversy that people might feel whatever it's going against and some of the terminology used in that movie, which I think the movie does a good job saying like that's not the preferred vernacular when people are dropping the F-bombs, like when they're leaving the parties and stuff. I think the movie holds up and does well for that aspect of things, but I just did not really care for, I don't know, like I honestly, and Steve Buscemi, he does such a great role, like making you hate him in the movie, but I literally hated him in the movie, like going through the trash and the whole court scene, like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's just like I would much rather go watch.
He played the role too well.
He always does. He's one of my favorite actors. He's in my favorite movies.
Steve Buscemi. I mean, think about some of the stuff that he's in. He's in a ton of stuff, and it's like it ranges from his Mr. Deeds, where he's a goofy, cross-eyed guy, all the way to something like Fargo,
Con Air.
Yeah.
Con Air, when he's like got the Hannibal mask on and he's crazy. Dude, he can play any role. He's in what was the series he was in? Boardwalk Empire?
Yeah, Boardwalk Empire is an awesome show from HBO.
Like, I mean, you want to talk about range. I mean, everything he does, if he's slapstick, he can do that, and he's hilarious with it. I think he's Grown Ups too. He's hilarious in it at that party when he dresses up as Flavor Flav. That might not go over well in today's culture, but he at least didn't put makeup on for it. He did it normal, but he's just so goofy, like in that whole movie, like that whole thing.
So we're going with I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry. Moving on.
Yep.
All right. So we're down to 4. We have a Very Brady sequel, The Benchwarmers, Jack and Jill, and I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry. A Very Brady sequel versus Jack and Jill.
Okay. That makes it a little bit more. I honestly, like, I just want to say a Very Brady sequel the whole way through, but honestly, Jack and Jill was not my favorite movie. I've seen a Very Brady sequel more than I've seen Jack and Jill. So I guess for that aspect, I'll put Jack and Jill through to the finals.
You shouldn't tell people that. That shouldn't be something you let people know in public, that you've seen a Very Brady sequel more than you've seen
Jack and Jill.
Jack and Jill.
I think most people have. Like, I think
I think most people saw it once and then didn't watch it again. So the fact that you've seen Jack and Jill means that you had to have seen Barry Brady's sequel at least twice.
I've seen it, I think, maybe 4 or 5 times.
Wow. Okay, so then you have our first finalist, Jack and Jill, and now we have I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry versus the Benchwarmers.
Whew. Honestly, I think the Benchwarmers are going through. I at least own the DVD of I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry, so I got to give it a little bit of credit. I spent the $19.99 on it.
I own the Benchwarmers DVD, and I don't even know why.
Yeah.
I've seen it once, maybe twice, and it would have been both times on TV, and somehow it ended up in our DVD collection.
Yeah, I mean, I collect DVDs, so like I got a bunch of DVDs that I've not even opened because they're just on demand. But I like to buy them and just kind of collect them, whatnot. But Benchwarmers for me just didn't do it for me. I'd say that versus Jack and Jill. Let's get to the finals.
Yeah. So this is going to be tough. I think I know what one you're going to go with, but Jack and Jill versus the Benchwarmers. What's your answer, Zach? Break it down for us. The worst David Spade movie of all time that no one is going to disagree with.
Jack and Jill. I mean, it's just, I think that's a lot of people's worst movie with whatever actors in it. I can at least quote Benchwarmers, and there's hilarious parts. Nick Swartzen's afraid of the sun during that movie, and then at the end, like, I'm not afraid of the sun. How do you feel about the moon? Not a fan.
So we will.
I couldn't not even quote. I can't even say one quote. I think from Jack and Jill. You're gonna like my bracket for you.
So let's do it. Okay, we've just decided on the worst David Spade movie. So now let's get into the best David Spade movie. This is going to be more fun because I think David Spade has a lot of really good movies. He's got some bad ones that he's been in, and keep in mind these are not all lead roles by David Spade, but this is the best David Spade movie, the best movie that David Spade has been in his career, bracket style. What's the matchup, Zach?
I'm going to start you off with kind of an easy one, but also kind of a catch here. Grown Ups is going to take on Grown Ups 2.
So I think this is actually an easy one for me. I've actually seen Grown Ups probably 10 times. It is on TV constantly, almost any day.
It's been on Comedy Central every weekend for
all the time.
Quarantine.
I've only seen Grown Ups 2 maybe once or twice. I actually really like Grown Ups. I think that the cast is awesome, and there's literally nobody that you can hate in it. They play roles that are like Adam Sandler plays kind of the same role. His character is the same, but I think all the rest, Chris Rock, Rob Schneider, David Spade play roles a little bit differently than what they typically are. They all play different roles than what they're used to playing, or what I think their characters usually are. So I'm gonna go Grown Ups because I think it's the better of the two. It's really tough to follow up a good movie with a good sequel. Not a lot of movies do that. They're both entertaining, but Grown Ups won.
Okay, wow. I personally I have it the other way, but I like the Grown Ups 2 has Stone Cold Steve Austin in it, and being as big of a wrestling fan as I am, and Shaq. I mean, come on, you know I'm going there, but
I feel like some of the stuff they added just to like be more over the top. I feel like that's what, especially comedy, is like the second movie in a comedy, in a sequel for comedy is always like over the top, and it's not, to me, that's not as funny. To me, it's like, I know you're doing this because you're trying to one up the movie before. I think the original Grown Ups movie was more like just genuinely funny.
I'm gonna give you an old one versus a new one here. We got Coneheads taking on the 2001 Joe Dirt.
See, to me, Coneheads was a little bit before, my time. What we say, 1986, I think it was, or 92, 93, 1993. So I was 4 years old when it came out. Now it's very iconic. I've seen it plenty of times. The cast is awesome. It's like the Coneheads, I think, is like the best of Saturday Night Live. You know, back you know, the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. Like the cast that's by far the greatest SNL cast. But Joe Dirt is, I love Joe Dirt. I watch it anytime it's on. I watch it. The cast is great. It's just like, it's like you could, the thing about Joe Dirt is you could pick it up at any point and even watch it for just like a little bit, 20 minutes, and you get like a whole story within it. So for me, I'm going Joe Dirt.
For our next round, before anyone thinks I completely forgot about movies we've been already talking about, got the Iconics going head to head right now. This is a battle of which is the best between these two. A lot of people will say this is best. It's debatable. You already know it's going to be Tommy Boy versus Black Sheep.
Quit playing with your dinghy.
So these two would have probably met in the finals
if it was a regular seeded bracket. Yeah, I did originally have them 1-2. Yeah, but let's make it interesting for the fans.
So to me, Black Sheep came out after Tommy Boy, and to me, you mentioned this earlier. It's almost like a sequel, right? It's a follow-up. It's a very similar, feel to it. That, one of the best comedic duos of all time. I think these are David Spade's two best movies. His character, he was so good with Chris Farley. Like the pairing was unbelievable. Like the timing, the tempo, just how ridiculous Chris Farley was. Like them on SNL together was you have some of the best sketches ever. Speaking of Chris Farley,
there you go.
But they, I think Tommy Boy was like the original one that was, and also one that gets played much more. Tommy Boy's on TV way more than Black Sheep is, and I don't know what the reason is for that. I think they're both great, but I think Tommy Boy is more iconic. I think it's just a better movie. Feel free though, comment though if you didn't like Tommy Boy, and I'd love to hear somebody's reasonings around it. But Tommy Boy to me is going to beat Black Sheep.
So this one I think I know where you're going to go with, but kind of keeping in the strategy of pairing movies up with like kind of, what they're about and their release date or anything like that. We got The Do-Over, Netflix original, with another Netflix original, The Wrong Missy.
I'm glad you put in The Wrong Missy because I think that's one of David Spade's best movies. I thought it was hilarious. It was one of the last time I saw a movie that I laughed like pretty consistently through was Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates, which is also kind of a stupid movie, but one that is just hilarious the entire time.
I believe they're in Hawaii in that movie too. I think you just like Hawaii, Josh.
Yeah, I've been there and it's awesome. So I'm gonna go The Wrong Missy. The Do-Over was like an exciting movie. It was more action oriented. Adam Sandler in it plays like it's kind of like a comedy. It's a little bit more serious than a comedy, but it's still meant to be a comedy. There's not nearly as much funny stuff in it. It's a little bit more of a an action movie, I think.
Yeah.
Suspense kind of. But The Wrong Missy, and I don't want to not give David Spade credit, but the actress in The Wrong Missy, she plays one of the funniest characters in a movie I've seen in a really long time. And if you've watched The Wrong Missy, you might think it's ridiculous, but if you don't laugh at a lot of the stuff, a lot of the lines, and if anyone hasn't seen it, I don't want to give away any of the lines that I think are hilarious, but definitely watch it and tell me that you don't find it hilarious. So I'm going The Wrong Missy because I think it is a hilarious movie start to finish.
I believe. I think the actress's name is I want to say it's Lauren Lapkus. Laura Lapkus. She was in Crashing. If you watch that, the Pete Holmes HBO.
Yeah.
That
show about the comedians.
Yeah. All right, we're into the semis here, and your matchups are gonna be Grown Ups versus The Wrong Missy.
Man, that is tough.
You think, wait till you see the next round.
I know. the next round's gonna kill me. I guarantee it. Or the other semifinal.
Yeah.
So I want to say The Wrong Missy because I thought it was so funny, but I feel like there might just be some recency bias in there. It's a ridiculous movie. It's Nick Swartzen's hilarious in it too. But I think Grown Ups is a better all-around movie. The cast is better. I mean, there's more people that more like familiar people from that same kind of that comedic universe.
Yeah.
I think Grown Ups is a better all-around movie, not funnier. What's his funniest movie? Wrong Missy is for sure moving on, but I think that when you look at all of his movies, The Grown Ups is definitely one of the best movies that he's made or that he's been a part of. So unfortunately, I don't even want to give my answer here, but I think I have to go with Grown Ups as the better movie than The Wrong Missy.
All right, Grown Ups is up. You think that was tough? You already know this is Tommy Boy versus Joe Dirt.
I'm really mad you put these on the same side.
Yeah, I just cross-bracketed it to make this more exciting for the fans.
Well, here's the thing. If I pick Joe Dirt, I'm going to get torn apart because Tommy Boy is so iconic. But Joe Dirt's one of my favorite movies. So I think it's ridiculous. I think the story is awesome. There's so much that happens in it that it entertains you the whole way through. To me, there's no like boring parts in Joe Dirt. The way that they broke that up, I think, was really cool because it allowed you to jump back and forth and cut from like mini movie to mini movie. So I think it worked really well. But Tommy Boy is just so iconic. I can't possibly pick against Tommy Boy, especially Chris Farley, who I think is the funniest person of all time. Literally the funniest person of all time. I mean, you show me one Chris Farley sketch. I watched there's a really cool documentary on Chris Farley too, and about like what he was like to be around and what he was like in SNL skits and in movie scenes where he wasn't even supposed to be like the lead. He wasn't even supposed to take up more than just saying a line and getting out of there, and yet he like took over the entire show. So I think to me, I have to go with Tommy Boy over Joe Dirt, even though I don't want to, but I know it is just a better movie and it's definitely more iconic.
All right. I'm not going to disagree. I'm not going to agree. It is what it is.
I don't want to agree, but
I mean, either way, they're both great movies in my opinion. That brings you to the finals. I think you kind of already gave us your answer. It's going to be Grown Ups with Tommy Boy. Let's hear.
As we know from wrestling, usually the best matchups are the semis, and I think that's what happened there. The Grown Ups is good, but I don't think it's anything close to Tommy Boy. The cast is awesome, but Tommy Boy, it would be really hard to find someone to say Tommy Boy's not the best David Spade movie.
I think if you picked Grown Ups over Tommy Boy right now, that'd be like our first and final episode. I don't think we'd get any viewership after this.
Grown Ups almost didn't even beat The Wrong Missy, but
it was the upset. It was the 4 over the 3 seed made it to the finals. Used up all that gas, couldn't take down Tommy Boy.
So tell us, what do you guys think? Are we wrong? Are we crazy? The best and worst David Spades movie, we have the winner, Jack and Jill, versus the loser, I guess, Jack and Jill, and the winner being Tommy Boy. Do you agree or disagree? Greatest and worst David Spade movies. All right. So now, Fudge, give me one of your David Spade movies that you didn't want to see, that you thought was going to suck, that ended up being a good movie, something you actually genuinely enjoyed, and why are you hesitant to see the movie in the first place?
It's going to be Father of the Year. When I saw the trailer on Netflix, I looked at it, and he kind of like he's in like the trailer, like trying to do in the hot tub thing, and it looked like he was trying to make it like another Joe Dirt, even though he already had Joe Dirt too.
He looks like Joe Dirt. That's literally his character. He's like if Joe Dirt had a kid.
Yeah, exactly. So I was hesitant to want to see it, and I wasn't sure I would laugh a lot. I wasn't sure I would like it as much as I actually did, because I thought he was going to I thought the writing and the dialogue was going to push too much Joe Dirt, like I can see down your shirt, and all the the crazy antics that he got himself into in that movie. But honestly, the movie was hilarious. I thought it was going to be a lot.
Is it in your opinion, is it a good movie, or is it just better than what you expected going into it, but still probably not something that you would rank up there?
I mean, I literally had it in the top 8 of the movies I was going to have you do. I was going to do that versus The Do-Over, but we'd already talked about it a little bit. You had it in the worst movies, which I'm assuming you may not have liked it as much. I think it's a good movie. It hits there's good quotes. It's a good cast. The cast gels together perfectly. There's a lot of funny parts in it. Storyline adds up. It makes sense. It's going to have that little, that wouldn't happen in real life type of situation, like build my pool or you get sued. But it's also, it's got the feel-good feeling that you want after 90 minutes of laughing. It holds up to me. I think it's a good movie.
Good. I don't want to feel good. I want like lives ruined at the end of my comedies. That's what I look.
Well, then let me start directing these movies because I'll 180 them real quick.
Hey, you already turned Joe Dirt into a horror movie. So I think, so Father of the Year, I think, is one of those that I probably didn't have a big desire to see. And then I saw it, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, but I didn't. To me, it wasn't one of the. I wouldn't put it in the top 8. But for me, you heard me talk about it in the best bracket. The
Jack and Jill.
What'd you say?
Jack and Jill.
The Wrong Missy. So I had seen the trailer once or twice, and I was just like, it just seemed like your typical like slapstick comedy that was going to be ridiculous, over the top. And I didn't really have any desire to see it. And then I watched it for the first time just because Kate wanted to. And I think you actually suggested it. Yeah. You kept telling us to watch it. And I like reluctantly did. I was like, well, it's on. Kate and I every night just watch a movie before bed anyway. Because quarantine, they're like, we're not going to the mall or we're not going to the theater, and we still need to get our movie fix. And I watched it, and it was just hilarious the whole way through. Like, we found each other just looking at each other on the couch and just laughing. And so that was one that, if you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. I recommend seeing it. And like we said earlier, comments if you think that I'm off base or that Zach was off base in recommending it to me. All right, so we've talked about almost all of his movies to this point. And all of them, I think we know there's nothing too complicated about them. Some of them have feel-good endings, like you just mentioned. Some of them are ridiculous. Some of them are just meant to be funny. Some are, iconic. Let's play a little game, though, of what we call a moral of the story.
Okay.
Movies are... it's a form of art. So at the end of a movie, everyone can feel their own way about it. Everyone can draw their own conclusions from it. Some movies, you know exactly what the moral is. You know what it was about and what the lesson is that you're supposed to learn. Some of them you don't. Some of them are more abstract. So, Zach, I'm curious for you to tell me what moral you learned from some of these movies. The Wrong Missy. You recommended it to me because I know you drew some really good conclusions from it on how you should live your life and those things. So what to you was the moral of The Wrong Missy for the people that have seen it and that know what it's about?
Oh, I mean, the moral of the Wrong Missy is a tale as old as time. It's simple. It's if you have a bad hookup or lack thereof, bad date, blindly take them to Hawaii. And we're talking 4 days later, you're going to be falling in love and you're going to be living a happy ever life. Like, that's
so let me get this straight. The movie about bringing the wrong person there that almost ruins his life, the moral is if you have a bad date, bring them to Hawaii for 4 days and you'll be in love.
Yeah, and it would definitely help if you could have your ex-wife there as well, because that'll spice it up a little bit. So if you want to get over your ex-wife, take the worst date you've ever had to Hawaii, bingo, bango, bongo, you're in love, and everything works out, and you get a great job. That's the moral of the story.
Take a bad date to Hawaii and you'll be in love. Tommy Boy. What's the moral of the story in Tommy Boy?
Fake it till you make it. Moral of the story, fake it till you make it. You might have no idea what you're doing in life, but I think it was Richard Branson who said, if you get a job that you can't do, accept it and figure out how to do it and go from there. That's what he did. He didn't know how to sell. He says it in the meeting. Now, I don't know anything about sales, but he does. Whip that off. No. I'm not going with Tubby on a sales trip. Come, faked it till he made it. He got it.
That's what you've done in your career so far. Is that where you got that from in your
career? Do you think I'm not living my best Tommy Boy life? Like I am Tommy Boy.
I actually think that that's not a bad moral that you could draw from it. But I would love to see Tommy Boy, a sequel to that, on what he's done to the company, considering that he really isn't like a competent person. So I'd love to see what Callahan Auto looks like now after those million brake pad orders are used up, and then like, what's he gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, that'd be
make it some more, I guess.
Yeah, it might be a little difficult, but we'll get that going.
All right, so I think even a more difficult one for you, Zach. The Ridiculous Six. Where's the moral of the story from the 0% Rotten Tomatoes Ridiculous Six?
Moral of the story, especially in these hard times that a lot of us might be facing right now due to layoffs and just what the economy is like, you might find yourself in tremendous debt. And if you ever need a quick $50,000, you need to just go find all all the children you had with your baby mamas, and they'll go out, and they'll rob banks, they'll knock over high-stake poker games, and they'll bring you $100,000, and boom, you're good.
So the moral is have a bunch of babies so that they can be your crime mob, essentially.
Quite frankly, if he would have had 12 babies, he would have been closer to $500,000. So get to it, folks. Make those babies with as many people as you can. And he wasn't picky. He was. I mean, they walk through. You walk through.
One of the other morals: don't be picky.
Yeah, don't be picky.
You're trying to build your army of children.
Moral of the story: lower the standards, higher the average. Simple as that.
Higher the income as well.
Yep. I'm going to throw 3 at you. One of them, he's just a cameo, more so or less. But the first one, bench warmers. What is the moral?
The bench warmers. So there's a scene in the bench warmers that I think is by far the funniest scene in that movie. And what it taught us is that if you're in a sporting event, no matter what the stakes are, you can pay off an ump for about $5. That's about it.
Yep.
So if you happen to be a middle-aged man on a pitcher's mound in a 12 and under type league, all you got to do is slip the ump a $5 and you're in. So remember that when your kids are in high school or Pee Wee sports and you're not getting the calls, $5 goes a long way to an umpire.
Second movie, moral of the story, Grandma's Boy. He plays Shiloh, the waiter at the
vegan I know, his best cameo.
Yeah, of all time.
So the moral of the story in Grandma's Boy is that if you do enough drugs, you will make great video games. Yeah. So if you want to be an artist and also at the same time order a lion to get delivered to your house, as long as you smoke enough weed throughout your life or throughout any party that you're at, good things will happen. And you will be a video game developer in no time.
I cannot debate those facts.
Follow your dreams.
Follow your dreams.
Wise man once told me in the middle of a big wheel race, maybe we'll attach a link to the
we definitely
video
need to post that. Yeah.
Follow your dreams.
Follow your
dreams.
That
requires smoking a bunch of weed and building video games, then that's your dream.
Then, hey, life's a garden. Dig it. Which moves me on to the third one. It's one of your favorites.
It's really funny you just said that, and you're going to find out soon enough.
Joe Dirt, what is the moral?
Okay, the moral of Joe Dirt. if you're ever in a love triangle with Kid Rock, you'll win. So if you're ever trying to win a girl, just make sure she likes Kid Rock as well, or that Kid Rock likes her, and there's no way you lose that.
Yeah, you definitely probably want Kid Rock to like her and her not to like Kid Rock, because then what's that say about you? But that's a story for another day.
You think Joe Dirt didn't want to be Kid Rock?
No, Joe Dirt didn't want to be Kid Rock.
Who doesn't want to be Kid Rock?
Yeah.
He is kind of crazy these days.
For starters, now, depends. If we're talking Bawa to Ba, everyone. If we're talking the last few years,
yeah, maybe not.
Yeah, probably not.
But I will tell you, ain't nobody on this earth that doesn't want to be Joe Dirt.
Everyone wants to be Joe Dirt. I always thought the moral of that story, but I like yours. I always thought it was that if you have a kid that you don't like, leave him at the Grand Canyon and things will turn out fine.
Did it turn out fine for them? They're kind of weird. They
For
call
him,
it
it
little
did.
Figurines.
I mean, like, no, I mean, like,
They're
you don't have to worry, like, oh, did we do the wrong thing, leaving him in a trash can? You know, he turned out fine. The kid's doing great.
Did he turn out fine?
He's a star. Look at him. Move out of the way. Let the cameras in to see the clones.
Up until the point where he started getting interviewed.
Yeah, he's a lifetime custodian.
No, I think if anything, you just have to make friends with Christopher Walken, and he'll make sure nobody ever messes with you.
You go back and you look at Joe Dirt, the roles that he worked there. He was a school custodian. He was the custodian at the radio station. He was an alligator host show thing. I'm not sure what the term is when he gets his head caught there.
An alligator wrestler.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to wrestle him, but
there's another moral. If you ever stick your head into an alligator's mouth, you won't die.
Yep. See?
You'll get bashed around a little bit, but you won't die.
Yeah.
Also,
lose a thumb maybe.
If you happen to have what you think is a bomb strapped to your back, don't let anybody hit the top of it with a hammer, or you'll get the poo on you.
Don't get the poo on you. Don't get the poo on you.
So I think those are some pretty good morals that we've come up with. I can't imagine anybody would argue with them, but if we missed anything, if you guys think there are better morals to the story, let us know in the comments, and we'll see if we'll debate them a little bit on the next episode.
And we only did 3 each, so I know he's got more movies. If you want to give us a Tommy Boy Black Sheep moral of the story, give us that in the comments as well.
I'm glad you brought up Grandma's Boy, because to me, I know it wasn't on the bracket, but that would have been one of the best movies. But he's not really. I mean, he's in one scene for a small little bit.
Yeah.
Guy Blow, I think, is his name.
Yeah. You were actually kind of sweet.
It's Shiloh. Okay, so this will be a fun one, Zach, because I'm curious to see. We have a couple more to go. This next segment we're going to call the best life. So you have the opportunity right now to switch with 3 David Spade movies characters. So we're going to do one where it's a David Spade character. You have to switch lives with a David Spade character. One where it's going to be a bad guy in a David Spade movie, and one where it's going to be an extra in a David Spade movie. What David Spade character are you willing to trade lives with, and why?
Okay. I think if I'm trading lives, and I'm going to take over the character that David Spade is playing, I'm probably going to go with Huggins from Grown Ups. I feel like that's the best life. Hear me out. Like, because if you watch those movies, it's almost like a documentary, right, about their lives and what they're doing. He is doing well for himself as far as the ladies go. Whether you can take it how you want, you can take it how you want. In the first one,
living a very unfulfilled life, Zach. He is a bum.
Yeah, but it's. He doesn't really have to worry about money or anything, because if it got hard enough for him, his best buddy, Lenny Fader, is going to take care of him. So he's got the fallback there. He's doing he does odd-end jobs, so you're not getting, mundane work doing the same thing over and over. he just found out he has a son who is a total badass. So you can't pick on me because my son will stab you with his teddy bear cutting knife as long as I don't lie to him about soup. He's got a good thing going there. I would
you just want to
that.
be a bum. That's what you just want, to not have responsibilities.
Yeah, but see, if it was just to be a bum, I would have gone Father of the Year because he's a bum in that. But this bum life is way better in Grown Ups.
So I'll give you a better answer. The Do-Over. David Spade and The Do-Over. Because think about it. He gets to literally live like a awesome like fantasy life where he's literally it's an action movie. You get to live in an action movie.
Yeah, do you see my body type? I'm not an action movie guy. I am not an action movie body type. I mean,
the only problem is you have to fake your own death, which would suck because I do have a family, and a daughter and dogs and cats and a hamster. Too many animals.
We get it. You got a hamster.
Okay, you're right. Maybe
I feel like he always talks about.
Maybe the faking the whole death thing wouldn't be that bad. No, there's obviously in any of the characters that, but I don't know. It's just me, as like an adrenaline junkie, that I would absolutely want to be in gunfights. Now, I think he gets shot in the movie. Doesn't he get shot?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'd have to rethink that. Although it would be a good story to tell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would much prefer not getting shot and just having my buff son protect me, and just that much rather live in that town. I guess.
We literally went the opposite direction.
Yeah, we went complete opposite.
Yours, I don't think does enough. Mine probably does too much. Okay, so then it's easy to pick. I guess it's not that easy, but it's one thing to pick the main character out of a movie. But now, what about a bad guy in a movie that David Spade is in? A villain. Who are you picking to trade lives with?
Oh, I mean, villain. He's maybe not the villain, but he is a villain, and that's Zelensky from Tommy Boy. 100% he's the villain, right? Because he doesn't care. Like the whole
Ray Zelensky.
We make car parts for the American working man because that's who we are and that's who we care about. No, but definitely him. Like everyone loves him. They don't know that he's not really a guy. He's just a businessman. He doesn't care. Like he's trying to make money and he's doing a good job. So if I can't be a bum, then I'll be the best car part dealer in all of Ohio.
You can easily take $1 million order and not
care.
Yeah. Order. So I went a different direction and I said Ray Zelensky from Tommy. I 100% agree. Like he's a bad guy in the movie, but he's only the villain because he's like a business guy that tries to get the job done. But he is a rich guy that owns a company.
Yeah.
And he's not even that bad of a guy. He's made out to be this bad guy. He kind of redeems himself at the end. So I guess we can move on from that. Let us know in the comments if you guys think there's anybody else that you would rather be that beats Ray Zelensky. And if you don't think that he's a villain in the movie, then agree to disagree.
He's a bad guy in the movie. He's not a good guy. Like the whole movie is they need to stop Zelensky from buying them out. So that makes him the bad guy. People who want to comment and say, his new stepmother and brother-in-law or stepbrother are the bad guys. Those are bad guys too. I just don't want to be them because
definitely not picking them.
Not picking them.
I thought about it for a second, but it doesn't end well for them. Although it does end well for his stepmom, who ends up with Ray Zelensky.
Yeah.
So maybe you got to rethink that when we talk about it. That's how that ends, which I guess he goes from being redeemed to back to a villain by ending up with him.
To draw back to a previous point, the movie Joe Dirt's on the table, and neither of us wanted to be Kid Rock.
I know.
Proving
I
no one wants to be Kid Rock.
All right, so the last one, the extra. You got to pick one extra from any movie. It doesn't have to be David Spade. Who are you going with? It is now your life, Zach. A side part in somebody else's story.
You know who I wouldn't mind being? What's his name? Gary What's Gary's last name?
Gary Busey?
Yeah.
In what?
Gary Busey in Black Sheep, when he's the dude, he's like the army soldier who comes in at the end and saves it, and he's like, "What are you doing in my perimeter?" He's like, he's got all the craziness, living in the bus in the woods. Like, I don't know, that'd just be fun to live like that for a little bit. I mean, he gets into
Probably don't have
town.
too many cares in the world if you're kind of like a crazy person.
Yeah,
Literally living in a van down by the river or a bus.
he's stocked up. Like, no one's gonna rob him. He got automatic weapons there, shooting range. I don't know. I was watching.
You don't want to get shot, but you want to have all the guns. That's.
Yeah. Guess what? If I have all the guns, I can't get shot. That's just numbers.
Oh no, you can still get shot.
No, I don't use them. I just hide them away, but I have them all. Now no one gets shot. Boom! Living in a bus just solved gun violence. One podcast.
I'll give you a better one, and it's Nick Swartzen's role in The Wrong Missy.
Yeah.
Think about it. He is the head of HR, and he is the worst head of HR of all time, but nobody can get him in trouble because the company doesn't care, and he would be the one reporting himself to himself. So we're both kind of in the HR, recruiting HR space, and I know for a fact that is not what HR looks like, depending on what organization you're in. But
so I thought about that one. I just wanted to shed light on Gary Busey more so, because I was debating that one earlier, and I also wanted to be the side character from the movie. I don't even know if I ever heard his name, but when he the guy who gets put on timeout and has to go like be a tree at the beach. You know what I'm talking about?
The assistant that's always trying to help out
the assistant who's like,
why would you want to be that person?
Nah, I just want to know what, like, to have that level of, like, he's got such a level of zen where, like, he's sitting there and they come up talking to him, he's like, and he's just like, well, I still got 10 minutes left, so I should probably go. And then he just turns and stares at the rock or whatever. I mean, to have that level of, like, you're good with your situation.
Someone else controls your life.
Yeah, you'd be good with that.
It's not bad. Yeah, you wouldn't have any cares or any worries.
And he's making.
But I think Nick Swartzen, you're in a job that you can't lose because you're the only person that could. And you could go to Hawaii, which I don't know if I mentioned this. Hawaii is awesome.
Oh, have you been?
I have been there before, and I hear that if you bring somebody to Hawaii. And if your ex-wife happens to be there, then it usually ends in love with somebody else.
Boom.
Well, Zach, this brings us to the ending of our show. I think David Spade has a lot of great movies. There's some iconic ones. We've decided by myself that Tommy Boy, but I think you agree Tommy Boy is an iconic best movie of David Spade. We're going to have a lot more actors to cover. There's a lot of really good movies. We started with David Spade, but you tell us, whose career do you want us to pull apart and talk about? And we'll try to get the next episode out. So click here to follow. It's one of these buttons. Haven't done the editing yet. Don't know. It's around here. But we appreciate you guys listening in. We'll see you next time we put a podcast out.
Follow your dreams.